First thing I'd like to ask you, just take about 10 seconds or so. What is a Pan-Africanist?
Pan-Africanist is someone who believes that all African people, irrespective of culture, language, religion, class, or nationality, are members of one human family, and that they should primarily identify themselves as members of that human family before they identify themselves as members of any other group, religious, secular, or otherwise. So we believe that being African is more important and should take precedence over being Christian, Muslim, a Greek, a Mason, or anything else. And the second tenet of Pan-Africanism is that we have an international responsibility to work together in order to collectively improve the conditions under which African people live. Pan-Africanism posits that we can't really rise as separate groups. We have to rise as one because our conditions are so intimately linked in with one another that you can't possibly realize success on the regional or national level without working with the whole international African family.
Amazing. And so does that include white people too who are born and raised in Africa?
Okay. No. Pan-Africanism believes in self-reliance. And so when we talk about Pan-Africanism, we're talking about a self-reliant movement of African people solving their own problems, which is no different than what other groups within the human family do. European Jews primarily work with European Jews. Arabs work with Arabs. East Indians primarily work amongst themselves. So if we look at the way in which most cultures operate, they operate with a degree of exclusivity. And as African people, we reserve the right to also be exclusive.
So are you saying that color first, then religion, nationality, and then the rest?
Not color, because color is a superficial characteristic. Color is nothing more than a symbol of culture and history and biological connectivity. So we would say African family first. Not all Africans have an obvious African look. Most of us do. You can generally tell who is and is not a direct descendant of the original inhabitants of Nile Valley culture. But not all of us look obviously or phenotypically African. We have Africans who can look European and look like other races because we are the mothers and fathers of all other people. It's not uncommon to see some of us look like other people. But yes, most of us are phenotypically African, but not all of us. So it is the DNA that makes us African.
So it's African first and then the rest. But let me ask, in America, this doesn't include Black Americans who were born in this country. We're not a part of that stuff, right? Because we are Americans. But how?
No, sir.
But how is that?
No,
I mean, for example, I was born in America, down in Alabama, and I'm 100% American. So I wouldn't be a part of this African stuff, right?
No, that's totally incorrect. Pan-Africanism as a philosophy was actually born in the Western Hemisphere. Pan-Africanism came from the Americas. It came from the Caribbean and went to Africa. So believe it or not, ironically, it was created by quote-unquote American Africans. And so when we talk about Pan-Africanism, as I said earlier, in the definition, it includes all African people, wherever we may live. That's the entire purpose of the philosophy, is to make African people understand that regardless of where you may be, you're still African. There's European Jews all over the planet, but there's still European Jews.
But I'm not African, though. I don't feel like an African. I don't think like an African. I don't look like an African.
Well, that's because of
I am 100%. I am 100% American.
If you choose to identify politically as an American,
not politically, I am an American.
Okay, well, allow me to make my statement. If you choose to psychologically and politically identify as an American, then so be it. But genetically and biologically, you may be African.
No, I'm not.
Biological, well, it's okay to be in denial. Most Africans are. You have to understand, we suffer from a collective psychosis.
Is this like